And in general, we see here an overview of the relationship between cycling and infrastructure. For example, here we have trails, on-street infrastructure, bus stops, and no infrastructure. We took the average of the cycling activities uh, in the city of Omaha across all of these different kinds of infrastructure. In general, trails and on-street infrastructures, because it's more convenient than they have more cycling activities, and they tend to be more convenient for people to use. However, when we look at the no infrastructure, we can find a less average than, for example, on street and trails. We used bus stops also here because bus stops in Omaha use racks that bicyclists can use to put their bikes on it. So it might have these street segments might have an increase in the cycling activities just because of this small detail added to the infrastructure. Also, the commute analysis shows that on-street infrastructure actually have higher cycling activities than trails, which indicate also that that people might actually use for example, bike lanes or sharrows or other kinds of on-street infrastructure when they go to work or when they are back from work. So now we're going to go through different types of on-street infrastructure treatments. First one is bike lane. A bike lane is marked by a solid white stripe on the street or pavement. Though they don't provide physical protection from moving cars, however, they give cyclists exclusive space on the road, which makes it more safer than the other type that we're going to talk about right now, which is a sharrow or sharrows. Sharrows is placed in the center of a travel lane to indicate that a cyclist is permitted to use the full lane. Basically, sharrows is a shared lane between cyclists and cars, which provides less safety, and it might cause an interaction between both and accidents at the end. Therefore, there's a conflicted opinion regarding the safety and the effectiveness of this type. And in the end, we're going to talk about the signed bicycle routes or signage. These are indicated by road signs. As the least sophisticated bicycle infrastructure, it only urges sharing the road. And the interesting part of when it comes to talk about bike signages, there are actually no research or nothing much in the literature that we can rely on to understand how it affects the cycling trips or the cycling activities in general. So how did the infrastructure evolve in Omaha in the last 3 years between 2017 and 2019? As you can see here, 2017, the infrastructure consisted of bike lanes and sharrows. Some of these sharrows were removed in 2018, and in 2019, the city of Omaha, in March specifically, added the signages, bike signages or signed routes. So in this here, we're going to show how these signages affected the cycling activities. We're going to provide a detailed analysis about that, and we're going to compare it with the effect of sharrows on the cycling activities. So here we show a comparison between the sharrows and signages. On those streets that we're comparing, we are looking into the average cycling activities compared to 2017, normalized to 2017. So any increase here is basically compared to 2017 and 2018. On the streets that had shadows in 2017 and 2018, we can see that it was consistent, the number of cycling activities. However, when signage was installed, the cycling activities increased, and this might be a reason for this increase. We can't be sure till now, but we're going to go through different analysis, and we're going to see how this assumption can hold. In contrast, we can see the streets that had shadows only in 2017 and 2018. It was consistent, but 2019 it was decreased. This might therefore we can say that shadows, it's either didn't affect the cycling activities, or the installation of signages actually took many cyclists from using these streets and shifted their attention to signed routes. Okay, here's another figure showing the difference in the number of cycling activities between 2018 and 2019. Here we're showing that streets with solid lines indicating that these streets had signed routes, and streets with these small lines and lines in between indicating shadows, and the others are bike lanes. We see here that most of the streets experienced an increase between 25 to 100% increase in cycling activities. Some of these streets increased even more than that. So all of these figures are just a preliminary analysis toward our machine learning model that we're going to talk about right now. So we're going to talk about the machine learning model right now. We have different kinds of data now. We combined the Strava data, which indicates the number of cycling trips, weather data, which that corresponds to these days and to these months, and OpenStreetMaps, which shows the street characteristics. We use data from MAPA, which they provide the update on the infrastructure and how it's changed between 2017 and 2019. And we're going to use this census data to provide demographics like population, income, the education, and other factors that we're going to feed into our model. So, as we said, this data is going to use in the machine learning model. The model predicts the cycling activities on road with signs in 2018 and 2019. And we're going to understand the effect of signed routes, weather, and demographics on cycling. So how does this model work? Basically, we're going to include many data in the model. I said before, weather data like temperature, rainfall, snow, fog. OpenStreetMaps provides street category, and the demographics data includes many other data variables like population, employment, and age. But we're going to put the update on the infrastructure because we're studying streets with only signs at this point. We're going to put it outside of the model, because basically we're going to predict the number of cycling activities without signages. If the predicted number of cycling activities were lower than the actual, then we can say that signages actually affected the number of activities possibly. Here's another explanation of how to interpret this model. First of all, we're going to have the 2017 data, which is going to be our training set. Here, we only have the number of actual trips, between January 2017 till December 2017. We're going to use this data to validate our assumption, which that we can use this set of data, the weather, the demographics, and the OpenStreetMaps, to accurately predict the 2018 data. If that works, then we have the grounds to say that we can predict the 2019 data, and the difference is going to be how we can interpret the effect of signages. So we did that, and the predicted trips were actually accurate compared to the actual trips in 2018. So here's the 2019 data. The first scenario, we get lower predicted trips, which means that signages increase cycling activities. If we get higher predicted trips, or equal actually, we can say that signages did not affect cycling activities. And also we use different kind of models just to extract the best model out of many models that we use. Here's a sample of models that we use, and XGBoost was the best model. Here's the error value and a comparison between three different models. So here's the actual graph that we have. So this figure is real. We have the actual cycling activities in black and the predicted cycling activities in 2018. We can see that the number is more like accurate, and we can see the trends, and the model captures the trends. In 2019, we have this figure. The black lines predict the black lines are the actual cycling trips, and the red lines are the predicting cycling trips. We use this aggregation. So basically, the model works on edge level, which is a street segment level, and every street has its ID. But we aggregate the results on monthly basis because we want to show this figure. We have signed routes installed in March 2019, and we have this increase between May and September 2019, and this increase is around 24%. So the cycling activities were predicted to be lower in 2019. However, what happened, it was higher actually, and the signed routes, which is not captured by the model because we kept it outside, explains this increase, as there's no major difference between 2017 and 2019 in that specific area. Also, what validates our model is the accurate result and accurate predictions in 2018. Here we demonstrate other factors that affected our model, and other factors that basically affect cycling, which we show here in this figure. Temperature has a big effect, population, street category, living coast, thunderstorms, wind speed, and rain. All of these affect our cycling activities. And here, just to make sure that our results makes sense and everything is accurate, we took away the temperature and population from our dataset model, and we can see an increase in the error value when we rerun the model, which indicate also that these two variables are very important when it comes to cycling activities and trips, and the number of these things. Okay, After finishing with signages, we're going to go into the bike lanes. Bike lanes, for example, added, we're going to see here the effect of bike lanes added to the 13th Street in Lincoln. Here, the city added bike lanes, two-sided bike lanes in 2018, specifically in October 2018. As you can see here, it was a 4-lane, and right now it's the 3-lane with bike lane. And here's a map showing which streets are we talking about. It's between A Street and South Street. Here, I'll let you just look at this figure. On the left, we have all cycling activities, and we can see the difference between before and after putting the bike lane. You can see that the peak goes maybe 3 or 4 times more than it was before. And actually, the cycling activities were very low in the winter and other non-peak months. And here we can see that even with the decrease, it makes sense that cycling activities decrease in winter, but even though it's not the same as having no cycling activities. But what's more interesting also, that we can see that commute trips are those that was affected with the bike lane. You can see here with the black line, the commute trips were much, much higher after installing the bike lane, which kind of makes sense when we look at the literature. But even though it's a very important step to understand that bike lanes actually affect commute cycling, and which is a very important thing to study in the future about this particular location. In contrast, we can see the very huge difference when with recreational cycling after adding this bike lane. Okay, I'm gonna go through the conclusions. I hope I wasn't so fast. I'm sorry if I was so fast explaining things. Anyway, if anyone needs any more questions, we're gonna have more time to explain. So our conclusions from this project: there's a strong association between Strava and cycling counts, as we saw from the correlation study. Weather has a primary effect on the cycling activities, and especially in Nebraska, we need to understand more the effect of weather and try to minimize it as much as we can. So by introducing better kinds of infrastructure, adding signages, bike lanes, we show that these kind of infrastructures increase the cycling trips. Sharrows, we provided a little evidence showing that sharrows did not actually have the effect that these other types have. And also, trails are very important when it comes to cycling in Nebraska. So here are some of our recommendations after this project. We recommend to connect the cycling infrastructure using bicycle signages and other types of infrastructure. But signages are important for connecting the infrastructure because it's feasible. It's actually non-exclusive. It can be used with bike lanes, with trails, and with even sharrows also. We found there's no effect of sharrows. Therefore, we recommend using signages if we want a feasible solution to our infrastructure problem. In the literature, bike lanes and on-street infrastructure generally serve commute cycling. we recommend a future study of bike lanes, therefore, and the effect of overall on-street infrastructure on commute cycling. And at the end, in general, installing a convenient and safe infrastructure will naturally attract more cycling activities. Thank you, everyone. I hope you like it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ali. That's a lot of data and a lot of information, but I think the conclusions that team has come up with are very impactful. And it's, you know, the fact that this research was presented to the Nebraska Department of Transportation is a very, very good thing. Showing that correlation, showing that we can rely on some of the data that's already out there. All of these things are just so important. And it's just mind-boggling to see how even just wayfinding signage can increase the amount of people that are out on bikes. Fadi, if you're still on, do you have anything you want to add? No? All right.
Is he on?
Okay.
Maybe he's
He might be on mute.
Let me just check with him.
Okay. What we would like to do now is to see if we've got any questions, dump the panel, if you will, from the audience to see, you know, tell us what jumped out at you here, what questions you have. I'm really curious to know what your reaction is to this research. We'll give everybody a minute here if you want to type in your questions into the chat box. I think sharrows are a particular, culturally within the bicycling community, we all know that sharrows are just a waste of time and something to be mocked in most cases. And so it's good to see that your data also supports the fact that sharrows, just painting an arrow on the ground, is not going to cut it. It's not going to get more people out riding. And it really doesn't do anything for safety. Let's put our time and efforts elsewhere.
Yes, I agree with that. We found no evidence of sharrows affecting the cycling trips, increasing the cycling trips. So we actually tried to find that, but we couldn't. At the beginning of our research, we tried to find that sharrows, but it did not. It actually did not.
Ali, were you surprised at anything that came of this research? What surprised you, or did it give you the results you were expecting?
I was surprised of the effect of signage on the cycling activities. I was not particularly looking at that. I was looking for a change. And basically, we were looking at for a change in the infrastructure. And then we were trying to understand this change. Unfortunately, we found a change which was the signed routes addition in 2019, and we showed that the signages actually increased the cycling activities, and we did not expect that. In the future, I hope we can see more changes in the infrastructure, that we can use the same technique, the machine learning methods that we have here, to understand the change of bike lanes and other types of infrastructure added to Nebraska in general.
Okay, I like that you pointed out infrastructure when it came to winter and weather riding. In other words, just instead of just blaming it on the weather, there are changes that can be made to help increase cycling.
Yes, because there's a research or many research, much research coming from, for example, the North Europe countries where they find that yes, weather has its effect, but also it doesn't have that much effect on the cycling activities. So we need to address the infrastructure first before blaming it on weather. And also we need to use the years, the months that we can go for cycling to improve these areas and to provide people the facilities that they can use for cycling.
Can you go back to the screen that just showed the, oh, here's another question. Do you think the heat map and census data could be used to help identify areas where a trail is most needed or would be highly utilized? Great question. So how can we use this data to figure out where we need to be placing maybe some additional routes? Or is that a
this could be a future study in the area, but so I can put some points where, for example, point A or point B, we can have difference between point A and point B and understand how much people are flowing from point A to point B. Basically, this can be used to introduce bike lanes or even trails if it's particularly near a trail. That can be used, and Strava data actually provides the origin and destination pairs, which they show how, for example, if you have a point A, how many people are going to the other point B, and they provide that on their website if you purchase the data.
Yeah, and it's great that as part of this research, you were able to purchase all of that Strava data. Will you talk about that a little bit, about what exactly you got with that and how it's different than what we might just see as an average person looking at a heat map?
Looking at a heat map, you get an idea of crowded locations and locations that doesn't have cycling activities. But I can extract the most details available from this data, like number of activities a year, a month, an hour. I can take the activities on intersections and number of activities between different geographical locations. So it provides different kind, more detailed information than just looking at the heat map.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's easier to handle because looking at the heat map, you can't extract data, you can't extract structured data. For me, I can extract the structured data in tables. That's the difference. But recently, Strava are opening their data for free, but for one condition: if the research group are working on a transportation project. So I think it's worth the shot to contact them and tell them that we have a transportation project that we need to use Strava data for it, and I think they will provide their data. When we started working on this project, it was not for free at all. But right now they are opening the data for public, but it needs a purpose.
Yeah, great. Another question, is there anything we as cyclists can do to help out your research and help in general? Just keep logging all of our rides on Strava?
No, I can't use Strava. I can't use this project to just promote Strava, but it's not better or worse for me if you logged your cycling activity in Strava, because as a comparison for me, the sample will be different. So, for example, after watching this presentation, if you used 20, if I used 2019 data and you watched my presentation and 2020, many people were interested in Strava. It also will be biased. Like the sample will increase a lot. So I'm gonna do more work to just unbias the sample. I just don't want to go ahead and promote other applications, but yeah, that's the case. But yeah, uh, actually, cycling apps in general provide provide some kind of service, and the data it provides is very good because we can't in the cycling analysis there's no good data, or there's no perfect data. All of kinds of data that we talked about, like the bike sharing program and uh, the life point data, even journey data, they are all not perfect. And uh, the best kind of option is to use Strava data because Strava is the most used cycling app, and it provides very detailed, very historic data. It provides details on street segment. They call it edge level. It's a street segment between two intersections, and this is very powerful when it comes to analyzing or the number of details that we have in analyzing the data. So yes, I agree when people use the Strava data when they conduct the cycling analysis, because let's be honest, there's not much better than Strava in this business.
Yeah, I think, and Barb raises a great question or comment in our chat about how Strava, not all users use Strava, not all riders use Strava. I think you said 20%. So, as we try to look with equity in mind in terms of trying to figure out, where are the riders that need safe accommodation and who probably don't even know, what Strava is. I think of, my parents wouldn't have a clue what Strava is, for instance. How then we can take this data, whether it's with the bus stops, as you kind of talked about earlier, showing where the bus routes are and all of that, and trying to apply it with an equity perspective.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing also, um, Strava data can be much more powerful, and even cycling data in general will have more power if it's connected with the counters. Bike counters are still important. It's not less important at that point, because one problem that we had in this project, that we didn't have enough number of bike counters in Nebraska in general, and even in Omaha or Lincoln. One of our recommendation actually was to increase the number of bike counters and to use Strava for this increase. So, for example, if there's a place that Strava had a lot of bike counters there, we can use, had a lot of cycling activities there from Strava, we can use this place to put another bike counter, just to calibrate and understand the representability of this data to the overall cycling community.
Good point. Good point. Okay, unless anybody has one last burning question, get it in that chat box in the next 15 seconds. Otherwise, I think we're going to start to wrap up here. We always say, if you build it, they will come. That's always sort of the mantra that we use as advocates when we try to figure out the message to whether it's city council members or NDOT staff or whomever it is, that we know that if we can make it safer, more people will ride. And having this particular study that's Nebraska specific really helps us in that regard. And so we're very grateful for all the research that you've done, Ali. I know you've done a lot of work on this, and bravo to you. Keep up the hard work. And we will keep working with NDOT to make sure that this data and more is brought to their attention so that they can help, it can help them make better, smarter choices for our roads in Nebraska.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Thank you for organizing this webinar.
If you have any questions afterwards, feel free to get in touch with us. We have been recording, although I didn't get the record in all of my technical problems at the beginning. I didn't get the recording going right away, but I was able to get it going right when we started talking about what the data showed on in Omaha once we added the signage. So that's better than nothing, I suppose. Stay in touch with us, sign up for our future webinars. Make sure you share our information on social media. You can become a member of Bike Walk Nebraska at www.bikewalknebraska.com. Becoming a member will support us in our work to help bring all of this to life. So we hope you will do that and share that with some friends. So with that, thank you all very much, and stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.